All right, Kristin Glenn. So awkward. Oh, sorry. So, Kristin.
Yes.
Is it Kristin or Kirsten?
Kristin.
I know. It's just one of those names that do people get it wrong frequently?
All the time.
Good, I'm glad it's not just me. Often it's just me getting things wrong. So, tell me about your company. You started it via Kickstarter, is that correct?
Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna have to tell you like the whole story to really...
You can just tell me the really short version.
I'll give you the really short version. So in 2008, I went traveling for a little over a year, and I came back to the States not knowing what I was gonna do, and like all young people these days, decided to start a business with my friend Shannon. So we were kind of tossing around ideas and figuring out what to do, and we kept coming back to this idea of travel fashion and like super versatile clothes. Neither of us had any degree in fashion, had never worked in a boutique before, nothing. So we started like Googling, as you do, how clothes are made. Huh. And this is sort of how I entered the sustainable fashion industry. And
so you weren't environmentalist in the beginning, you became concerned with that?
I was an environmentalist, but I was also a shopaholic, so that doesn't even make sense. But if you asked me where I got something, I would tell you the store, and I wouldn't think about all the people and hands and raw materials that went into that item that I was wearing. So
you didn't think about that?
No, not at all. I was just like, how cheap is it? I want it.
So you were not an environmentalist in the beginning?
Okay, so I think I was, because I would like pick up my trash and like save water and recycle and that kind of thing.
But then in shopping,
I would just go shopping.
Right, awesome.
Yeah.
Right. So it's sort of like a vegan, 6-day-a-week vegan, and
right.
7th day you're like,
it's like I would buy some organic vegetables, but I never made that connection like all the way through to like my cotton t-shirt or my toothpaste or anything else. I was looking at your website just to interrupt the flow of your story. Sure.
And it said, which was incredibly inspiring in a negative sense, it was kind of eye-opening. It said, what percentage of clothes are made here in the US that we wear?
In 2011, it was 2%. Right. That are made in the US. And in 1968, that number was 98%. And then 1990, it went down to 50%, and now it's only 2%. So it's very,
basically the Mad Men
rare.
era, they started wearing polyester, and that was the death of Made in America.
Sort of. I think NAFTA may have been a little more the death of it. But in the 90s, companies started moving overseas, and because you could get cheaper labor, and there were not as many regulations.
So if I were a Republican, I would say, what's wrong with cheaper labor? Like business is gonna, like water, it's gonna flow to wherever it can find.
Right, no big deal. The problem is that overseas it's so hard to regulate, as I'm sure you guys have had, I've read posts on Elephant Journal about what's happened in Bangladesh. Yeah. And the thing is, it's so hard to trace. Like, even if you go and visit your factory in China, you don't know who they're subcontracting to, who they're subcontracting to. So it's really tough to kind of figure out where your clothes are really made unless you can like see it in person.
To you, there's this thing called dead stock, which I find really exciting. What's that?
So dead stock is discards, leftovers, and slightly flawed fabrics that otherwise wouldn't be used in production. And so what we do at Seamly is take those fabrics and turn them into new clothes here in the US.
So you get all kinds of random fabrics and designs and colors?
Yes, and some of them are really easy to work with, and they come to me and they're beautiful, and then others have like a huge hole in the middle here, or like a break in the fabric here, and all kinds of crazy things. So it's really tough to work around that stuff and still like make a pretty garment, but
and that's why no one else, or most others don't do it.
That's why most big companies won't do it, because it's very inefficient.
So when we're buying new clothes from you, from Seamly, it's essentially recycled or reused clothing, secondhand.
Essentially. So a great example would be this fabric that's for the Versalette, which is one thing you can wear 30 different ways.
And that's what you kickstarted, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, I definitely want to tell you about that. So it's knitted in New York, and it's custom made. So if there's anything wrong with it, if it's a little bit the wrong color, if it's a little bit the wrong weight, they can't sell it to their end customer. So I connect with people like that and say, when you have something that goes wrong, like tell me, and I'll take it from you, and I pay them for it, and then make new stuff. Yeah.
So the Versalette why is it called the Versalette?
Because it's super versatile. It's one thing that can be worn 30 different ways.
It can be a purse or a formal dress or a hiking thing or
yeah,
something?
I mean, I wouldn't wear it to prom or a wedding, but it's definitely something you can wear for like pretty much any season, tons of different occasions. And we came up with this because we were both travelers. And when I was overseas, I saw how much stuff I had, even in my backpack. And then I came home and I saw how much stuff I had. And I was like, what am I doing? And as we were talking about fashion and designing travel clothes, that really hit home and caused us to want to create like versatile things that you can have one piece and still have tons of options, cut down on the resources used to make it, and also just like make your life easier.
But that's not really the American way, right? We
Right.
want more stuff.
Right.
So why do you want less? Because you were traveling, you had to carry it? Was that the...
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I think having things like really can weigh on you. But that's not the American way.
Well, right. The American way originally maybe was about the pursuit of happiness. So what is that happiness?
Right.
To be fair to the American way, it's also kind of awesome.
It is kind of awesome. However, I think I've thought so much about how we consume and what that means. And for me, as like a former shopaholic, I would walk into a store and, it looks great, and that's kind of what I want my life to look like. It's organized, and then I go try something on, and it makes me look really good. And then I think about like where I'm going to go in it, and like who's going to like me, and
Right.
how accepted I'm going to be. And I think it really plays to your feelings of connection that everyone like wants so much. And for a fleeting moment, you get that feeling of connection when you buy something new, and it's like
Right.
addicting, and you just go back and go back and go back. We all shop because we want to kind of like be surrounded by like beautiful things, and we want to look at them. I know for me, that's like why I would go shop. And if I can create an experience where someone can want to go there for a positive reason, to look at something pretty that's cool, but then they can also get like a little kind of moment of truth about the negative impacts of the fashion industry in general, that's like totally what I'm into. So I was really interested that you said that, because that's like my whole jam.
Well, I was really interested in your website, which your boyfriend was saying you designed, developed, and coded the whole thing. It's talk about, craftsmanship or craftswomanship.
I like to make things.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous website. I was looking at it and I was like, who is this? I want to steal them, or at least steal the design. Pay them less, like outsource it to India.
Well, I don't pay myself anything, so less is more
Hypocrite.
than that.
Yeah. And then I was watching one of your videos, and it's like almost the opposite experience. It's beautiful, but it's heartbreaking. It's showing the dyes going into our rivers, and dye, no pun intended. And it's really heartbreaking. I really recommend people maybe we'll try and link that to the video.
Yeah, that'd be great. And that's actually one of the first images I saw when researching how do you make clothes, and then realizing that the way our clothes are made is like super messed up.
Yeah.
The first thing I came across was this Greenpeace report, and it included aerial images of a town in China that basically makes like 80% of the world's jeans. So everyone who lives in this town makes jeans, or they snip the like threads off of jeans or whatever. And you can see on Google Maps, even right now, you could go and look at it. Out of the factories and into the Pearl River goes this blue dye, and then it goes into the delta.
One of your
and you
new
can
fans.
see it, like, I know, loves me. You can see the dye from jeans just like billowing out into waterways, and it's horrifying.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the first moment where I was just like,
and just so people know, I mean, they probably know, but dyes aren't made out of like blue flowers.
right.
They're made out of like,
heavy metals like chromium, cadmium, like all carcinogenic, super bad stuff.
One thing I find among many super inspiring about what you and many other people have done, you kids these days, is you've kickstarted it, which I don't think, I know you appreciate because we talked about it beforehand, but I think, when I started Elephant 25 years ago, when I was 4, I'm making up a lot of math right there, 11 years ago, when I was 28, it was with my life savings, which was far less than what you raised. And I did that because I didn't want any investors.
Yeah.
And Kickstarter, to me, enables people to not ask the man for permission to start a business, which I love.
Yes.
It enables you not to have investors. And investors are deadly to businesses that care about what Elephant cares about, what many of us care about, which is being a benefit. Because if you get investors, as Steve Demos, someone I've interviewed, anyone know Steve Demos? Anyone? The founder of Silk Soy and White Wave, at the time of his sale, the largest organic company in the entire world. He said there is no such thing as an angel investor. Show me an angel investor who will walk away from their money and I'll show you a true angel investor. So the second you get any investment, even from friends and family generally, you have to sell. And a business that is devoted to selling has to be devoted to profits, from Huffington Post to whatever. So it doesn't mean those companies are bad, but it means that their mission isn't first to do the right thing, usually. Right. That's why all our favorite companies, Patagonia or whatever, are almost all independent or family-owned, New York Times, or family-controlled at least. Right. So Kickstarter, you raised an incredible amount of money. How much did you raise?
Yeah, so this was 2 years ago, and with a company, Revolution Apparel, which we've since moved on from, we were going to raise $20,000, and then we raised over $60,000 to finish.
So your goal was $20,000?
Our goal was $20,000. And we were like, I was about to throw up all over my computer when we pressed the launch button. I was just like, there's no way this is going to happen. And it turned out that people really care, which was so cool. Right. I had no idea that people cared.
Right. Well, on that note, Kristin Glenn, Seemly.